Hey everybody, Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick unboxing and first look at the Sony A7. Now this is one of two new Alpha branded cameras from Sony. The other is the A7R. Both of these are set to be released on December 1st of 2013, so right around the corner. The kit we're looking at today is priced at $1999.99, and if you don't know about the brand new Alpha line, basically what we're looking at here is the lightest full-frame mirrorless interchangeable lens camera ever made. Yes, Leica also does produce a full-frame mirrorless interchangeable, but Sony, obviously a more popular brand with the mass market. So they're trying to deliver basically the culmination of their digital imaging business, in my opinion. The NEX brand, because this is based around their e-mount, even though the NEX brand is gone, the e-mount lives on here in the brand new A7 and A7R, as well as in other APS-C censored Alpha branded cameras that will launch later in 2014. But again, the focus is on the A7. So for $2,000, you can pick up this kit, which of course includes a kit lens, or you can go body only at $1699.99. If you want to step up from the 24 megapixel full frame sensor that's offered here, which by the way is driven by a new processor that Sony has employed in both this camera as well as the more expensive A7R. The A7R at $2299.99 offers you 36 megapixels of resolution, so really unmatched. Forget in this form factor, it's right up there with the best digital SLRs in the business. But beyond that, they also have done away with the low pass filter, so incredibly high resolution. But you do get faster autofocus, at least the promise of that here with the A7, because you have phase and contrast detection for autofocus, 5 frames per second continuous here, 4 and change with the A7R. So really that's the basic difference between the two. Also, the A7R, the more expensive body, they are identical in actual form, but the A7R has a little bit higher end build material. So other than that, they are pretty much, the same camera in terms of the footprint. But let me take you around the box. I just wanted everyone to know what's coming out. And that's where the Alpha brand really is the beginning for Sony. You can see this lineup of accessories. We now have the ability to get a grip. They're still working with the W series battery, which was in all of the previous NEX cameras. There is no included charger. That's why you see right there, they're showing you can pick up an additional dedicated charger. That's something a lot of people hate about Sony, but quite frankly, it's the smallest compromise on earth to just pick up another charger or actually use the in-body charger, which is arguably convenient only because it's micro USB based. Of course, you can pick up different adapters to deal with full frame lenses, not the E-mount, which is what this is based around, the new Alpha brand, and they're calling these lenses FE lenses because they are full frame E-mount lenses, at least the native ones. You can also use older E-mount lenses designed for NEX, aka APS-C sensors, but they will be cropped. There are a couple different modes, not getting into that today. Fit case as well as flash. Anything else on the box? You can see 35 millimeter full frame. Formal name of the actual kit, the ILCE7K. Beyond that, a lot of what I've mentioned, some of what I haven't. So let me bring that right up to frame, and you can see the Bions X is the new processor that I was mentioning. We now have Wi-Fi on board, something that has matured with the NEX brand, and we've also got the addition of NFC. Beyond that, 4K raw output, from the HDMI. So if you have a 4K TV, that's a great addition from this camera. 24.3 megapixel full frame sensor, as I mentioned before. The ISO range 100 to 25,600. That fast hybrid autofocus that I was talking about with the phase and contrast detection, slightly faster than the A7R. And then the XGA OLED True Finder, which is the electronic viewfinder at the top of this camera, which is arguably one of the best in the business, right there with Olympus. It's the same one from Sony's A99. And then basically just branding here on the back, and they tell you what comes included. The AC adapter, rechargeable battery pack, micro USB cable, shoulder strap, and standard zoom lens, which by the way is a 28 to 70, and that's an f3.5 to 5.6. Optical steady shot is in the lens. These bodies do not have any stabilization. With that said, let's get this out of the box. And I'm very excited to finally see this. This is something many of you have been waiting for a long time, myself included, and that's because it really does represent, as I mentioned earlier in the video, the culmination of Sony's work for at least a decade, if not more. I mean, you could say their entire existence, but in my opinion, the last 10 years, they've really evolved into one of the better digital imaging companies, something they really weren't known for, unfortunately, despite the fact that almost everything you watch on TV is shot with a Sony-based camera. That aside, paperwork. We've got warranties, accessories, codes for accessories, and instruction manuals. Not really anything too exciting. Let's put that aside. Get to what you're all really waiting for. Turn the box around. See if we get a better angle on this. And you can see we've got our strap right here, which is fairly basic. I'm going to put that right back in there. The actual lens, as I mentioned before. We've got a hood as well that's been included. And basically, this is one of those FE lenses. And you can see size isn't tremendous. It's very similar to many of the other existing E-mount lenses, in my opinion, but this is a true FE lens. That's the defining difference between this and other pre-existing E-mount pieces of glass. So there aren't a lot of lenses at launch. We're looking at a 35mm f2.8 Zeiss, which is priced at $799.99. They also have a Zeiss 50mm f1.8 priced at $1,000. And then I think down the road, there's going to be a Zeiss Zoom. Not I think, there will be. I'm forgetting the range right now if it's 24 to 70, but the point is that one will come in at roughly $1199.99. So that's what the launch glass looks like. There is quite a deep roadmap, though, for this brand new FE mount, and there should be. I mean, this is the beginning of a new era for Sony, and in my opinion, it should be a successful one. Well, let's get the actual body out of there. I'm going to push this aside. I know the battery and balance of accessories are down there, but let's just take a look at the body already, because I know that's what all of you have been waiting for through the course of this video. And here we have it. And you can see it is incredibly small. It really looks like an RX1, which I own, enjoy. In my opinion, it's one of the best cameras ever made. But really an RX1 with, rather than having that interchangeable or detachable OLED viewfinder, it's built right on the top. The grip from the NEX7, NEX6 has been ported right to this camera. Feels great, and when I say that, it's incredibly comfortable. Any complaints that anyone had with mirrorless cameras in the past, this, in my opinion, brings you a feel that no other mirrorless, forget, of course, full-frame interchangeable mirrorless camera has to offer. Then again, this has no true competition in the broad sense of the scope of this market. In terms of actual manual controls, Sony has made sure that they are very well represented. You can see exposure compensation, traditional mode dial, our shutter release, on-off switch, and then we have a whole host of programmable buttons. We have a finger dial here, a thumb dial on the back. We have yet another dial. This is standard fare for Sony, but where they've really bumped it up are these extra dials that I'm pointing out right here, because this is what is really new for the most part in the design. Much of this looks exactly like the RX1, so that's nothing new. But these new dials really make it so that you can, very quickly adjust pretty much anything you would want to in manual mode, whether we're talking about ISO, aperture, pretty much anything. Your shutter speed, of course, you still have that direct link to exposure compensation right there. So tremendous amount of flexibility here in terms of programmability and ease of use. You're not going to be menu diving in order to get the result you want. That electronic viewfinder, again, best in class, so I'm expecting really good performance from that. Menu button. The screen is a 3-inch tilting LCD screen. I would love to see it actually come out, but this is something that Sony still is not able to do for some reason. This is the range of tilt. It's not a bad thing. Remember, this is really a compact camera at heart, and the fact that it's full frame and will, within a year, have a wide variety of lenses makes it incredibly compelling, especially at the $2,000 price point. for this kit. We've got our doors here to what I believe will be microphone and headphone jacks, and they are, so you can monitor and record. And again, this is all weather sealed, which is important to point out because no prior cameras from Sony had been, at least of course in this class, for this sort of form factor. And there you've got that HDMI out, as I mentioned before, which has raw 4K output, which isn't only for outputting to a 4K Sony TV, it's also great for professional use. And then you also have that micro USB port for charging and additional accessories. And of course, transfer in the event that you're not interested in using the onboard Wi-Fi or NFC. Now, at launch, as far as I know, the application market that Sony has for NEX cameras, it's not currently available for this. It's only shipping with functioning remote control access, Sony's Smart Remote app. Beyond that, I'm not sure when exactly we'll have full support, but of course the idea with the NFC, quite simple. You're able to just touch your compliant device, your NFC capable smartphone or tablet, to that contact point, and then from there the Sony app will launch that you've downloaded either in iOS or Android, and then you can take complete control over the camera. When I say complete control, we'll see how much control they actually lend us, but that is the actual idea behind the app itself. So that pretty much covers the actual body. We do have a hot shoe at the top also, which is standard fare, and that's a good thing. This is something that Sony started with the NEX6. So really, a great looking camera. Build quality is something I want to point out. You may have noticed we've got a plastic finish here, and that's because the difference between this camera and the more expensive A7R, beyond the sensor and the low-pass filter being ditched, is the actual build quality. Here we've got plastic, and even though it is weather sealed, the 7R does have metal construction. So that may matter to some of you. I think for most consumers, it won't matter, and that's what Sony is betting as well. On the bottom of the camera, we have access to the battery door or bay, and that takes W series batteries. Again, they've been on the market a long time, so that's actually a positive thing in my opinion. Rated at a little over 300 shots per charge, roughly 330. Pretty solid, in line with what we've seen from Sony's mirrorless cameras in the past. The SD, it's actually a combo slot, is right in there as well. It takes a single SD card. Let me put the camera aside and get what's left in the box here, which should just be the actual charger cable, a micro USB. Let's see what we've got. We've got a power brick, which is what Sony includes even with their CyberShot cameras, so nothing crazy there. Our W series battery. Again, a little over 300 shots, and I think that's realistic. Sony's, I don't believe that they're actually overestimating on that. And then finally, or no, I thought there is the micro USB cable. I was going to say, I know they don't like to give chargers, but have they really taken the next step? You've got to use your smartphone charger now, but there it is, fairly short cord. They could have at least given us some length here, considering they're not including a charger. But overall, that's not what the show is about, is it, folks? It's all about a full-frame, mirrorless, interchangeable lens camera, and we finally have it at a price point that I think is far more palatable and a weight that is also far more flexible and easy to use. And then you also have that ability to throw on an adapter and use any legacy glass you desire from any manufacturer, and quite frankly, any age. I mean, that is the point of legacy after all, isn't it? So that's what makes the A7 and A7R so finely well spec'd and really ready to take on just about any consumer, amateur or professional alike. And even though they aren't the fastest cameras on the market, they are some of the most interesting and exciting ones. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. And of course, as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.